Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Gemini, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of September. I hope you are well. I'm using the Celtic Tarot for you today. There it is. So let's have a look and see what's going on with you. Can I have 3 cards for Gemini, please? Wow. Am I going to take all of those? Probably not. We've got 3 cards that all jumped out together. We've got the Page of Wands, the King of Swords, and the 6 of Pentacles, which I think is an indication before we've even started that there's a sort of frustration. There's a keenness to get on with something, but there are decisions to be made first because there's a more moderate approach that you're being required to take than currently you really want to, right? It feels like there's something that you're very passionate about, but there's this stone cold King of Swords here. It's kind of asking you to think very clearly and take this more balanced approach than you might have been doing otherwise. It might be related to delays and blocks that are occurring at the moment, but we're going to shuffle those back in. If they want to come out again, they will. 3 cards, please, for Gemini. Oh, we've got 3 again this time, right? Okay. What do we have here? We have the 7 of Cups. We have the 4 of Swords in the reverse, and we also have the King of Pentacles there. So we're going to take those for your recent past. Let's have a look at your current energy. What's going on, please? Thank you. There's the Page of Wands again. Hopped straight out. And what's coming towards Gemini, please? Thank you. We have the Tower. And we have that 6 of Pentacles back at the bottom of the deck. We do have the 5 of Wands that has also come out to the side. And I think that this is important. I mean, it's this card often that talks of conflict, but it feels more like a petty kind of show of something here. Now, whether this is you or whether this is someone else, I'm not entirely sure. Certainly there's no indication that this is all out war going on here, so I'm going to pop that one to the side and we're going to refer back to it at some point, because I think it's the possibility of small niggly things really trying to fuck with your peace, right? Trying to fuck with whatever it is that you are trying to stabilize for yourself here. It's proving to be quite difficult. We've got the Ace of Pentacles sitting beyond the 6 of Pentacles, and so fuck me. We've also got the Page of the Shields in this deck, but it's Pentacles. We've got that sitting behind it. There's a lot of new energy, and was this same thing not coming up for you last month? Right? There's this champing at the bit, wanting to get stuck into something, and yet you seem to be being held back. Right? I do think that this is an opportunity for you to stabilize yourself, but it seems possible that the way forwards is somewhat fraught. I'll put it that way. I want to pull some more clarifiers before I say anything else there, or any clarifiers at all, actually. So tell me about this 7 of Cups and 4 of Swords in reverse and this King of Pentacles. We have the World and we have the Fool coming out immediately after it. There are loose ends that have needed to be tied up first, I think. Ooh, Wheel of Fortune and the Emperor. That's 4 major arcana cards underneath your past energy there. That's big. Tell me about Page of Wands, please. Page of Wands is clarified by the 5 of Swords in reverse, Page of Wands, and the 6 of Pentacles, which is also in the reverse, and the Tower. Why is the Tower here? We have the 8 of Swords and the King of Cups, which is Scorpio energy, interestingly clarifying a Scorpio card, which is that Tower card there. At the bottom of the deck we have the 8 of Pentacles, indicating that work needs to be done on something. And what does it need to be done on? It's the Hanged Man that's sitting beyond there. There's something about the way that you are thinking about whatever it is that is really exciting to you, that you're desperately wanting to get on with, that needs revision. There is an alternate perspective that you're being asked to find here. And, in some ways, this is kind of a similar sort of reading to what was coming up for you last month. And, I think there are some nuances, and we'll get into those. But I don't want you to be frustrated about the lack of movement, because there was another sign who had this. It wasn't exactly the same, but we are just about to go into Mercury Retrograde. I think we're in the shadow period now, actually, as I'm recording this. I'm sure it goes... Is it now something like the September the 9th or something like that it goes retrograde properly? But whenever Mercury retrograde hits, and usually that's 3 times a year, we're actually having 4 this year, just for special funsies for 2022. It's not a time to initiate things. It's not a time to launch things. It's not a time to go into new relationships. It's definitely not a time to sign contracts and things like that, because Mercury is all about the detail here when it's going retrograde. It's wanting you to go back over what you have already done and make sure that you've done it correctly. Have you crossed your T's and dotted your I's? Have you really paid attention to what you need to know in this point? It's a little bit like a stitch in time saves 9, because you take the time and spend the effort doing it now. It saves you a lot of effort moving forwards. And I think that this is particularly important for you when we look at what's coming towards you, which is that Tower with that 8 of Swords. Like, any time, any effort that you spend on yourself, in reflection, in sitting with things that feel uncomfortable, identifying where the work is, it will save you a lot of time in the future. Now, we go... I think they almost pretty much follow on from each other. We've got Mercury going into retrograde, and then it stations direct and starts appearing to move forwards again. But then we have Mars also going into retrograde, which could potentially be quite frustrating for a lot of people, because there's that movement forwards. Right? Page of Wands, 5 of Wands, champing at the bit to get things done. But Mars is like, no. You're not going to move forwards. You're not going to do things. I'm not saying whatever it is that you're wanting is not going to happen for the next few months, but certainly that there might be a wisdom in acting like it may not come for a few months, right? Exercising a little bit of patience. Because the energy between now and the end of the year is, I think, it's a train. Don't hear those very often. It's kind of all over the place, actually. So there's a lot to be said here for about personal stabilization, not running before you can walk, really sitting with whatever energies are trying to teach you something. Now, if we come to what we've got down here, we've got the 7 of Cups. There it is. 7 of Cauldrons. We've got the 4 of Swords in reverse, and we've got the King of Pentacles. Now, that is very clearly a plan that you are desperately trying to execute at this point. I feel like the 7 of Cups is an emotional yearning for this thing to start, right? It's why is it not happening yet? I've planned this all out so beautifully. I don't want to sit back. I don't want to take a break. I want to actually lean into this. I want to commit to this really, really hard. And yet there's these 7 of Cups here. It feels like there's a great deal of emotional frustration around what you have been trying to pull off, what you've been trying to bring together, And the cards that you've got clarifying under there are the World, the Fool, and the Emperor. Now, just like the King of Pentacles, the Emperor speaks to that planning, to strategizing, to executing some sort of plan. Now, and that makes sense, because the King of Pentacles can be found within the Emperor. He's the King of Kings, so he's got all of the kings together in him, and this is part of what gives him Emperor status, right? Not just one of the elements, but all of the elements. But this World and this Fool and this Wheel of Fortune The major arcana runs from the Fool to the World. And when you hit the World, you don't just end, you start again, but up here. And then you run through the whole major arcana again. And you do it again and again and again, as many times as you possibly can within your life, hopefully building on the experience and everything that you've learned in the previous cycle, right? So although this is an end and this is a beginning, we do have this Wheel of Fortune showing up right after it. And it's like, have you learned what you were supposed to learn from this previous cycle? Are you really ready to move on into Fool territory now? Have you done your homework? I mean, there's something vaguely Saturnian about the way that I'm feeling the energy presenting here, because we've got the Six of Pentacles here at the bottom of this deck with that Ace and the Page of Pentacles sat behind it. We've got the Eight of Pentacles here and the Hangman. You know, I picked up this deck to clarify with, and the Tower's sitting underneath here as well. Interestingly enough, I haven't even pulled any cards from it yet, but the Tower's already showing its face. There's a lot to be said about going back to the drawing board. Like, go back over what you're trying to do. If you're trying to launch a business, if you're looking to buy a house, you know, not go and do it again, but go and check what you've done, right? Maybe you have been doing that. Maybe that's what's been going on for the last month, and you're like, yep, I have double checked, triple checked. I can't possibly check anymore because I'm so used to what I'm looking at now. I can't even see anything. Let's get other people in, perhaps, to check it over. Some of you are getting ready to relocate somewhere, interestingly enough. There's a busyness here, there's an awful lot going on, and there's a desperation to get out into the world to do it. And it's not happening yet, it's not moving yet, and likely, in all likelihood, it's not going to move too much more in the next month or two either. And it feels like, honestly, Gemini, it feels like you're missing something. It feels like you've missed something that is kind of important. And this could be something about you and the way that you do things. It could just be the value of patience. Although I feel like this would be a kind of mean way to teach you that lesson. Although that's often the way that these things work. Well, we'll move into your current energy. We've got this Page of Wands. Like I said, champing at the bit, want to get started. There isn't actually any movement happening here in the page. That movement happens with the Knight of Wands, which is the next step. But it's very much an initiatory place. You know, the pages in some ways are foolish, and I feel like when you look at these two cards together, there are good ways of looking at this, and there are slightly more, you know, negative. I hesitate to use the word negative because it's not really what I mean. You know, this could be everything's just taking off and it's brilliant. But I really don't get that vibe of this. It's kind of like you're rushing ahead. Like, you're rushing ahead and you haven't quite learned the thing that you were supposed to learn yet. And so this Wheel of Fortune is just kind of getting in the way then. And even this Emperor just here is actually side-eyeing. You won't be able to see it terribly well, but he's kind of side-eyeing this Wheel of Fortune in a sort of like, oh shit, there's a thing that I didn't think of. You had these two cards come out in the reverse. It's the Five of Swords and it's the Six of Pentacles. Now, that one is a good card to have in the reverse because this is an inherently unstable energy. Aquarian Insight used to call these the agents of chaos. I believe she still does, actually. She's just not on YouTube anymore, but you can find her on Odyssey and places like that, right? This, for me, is a card that speaks about cognitive loops. It talks about bad decision-making often. But it says a lot about the kind of things that we say to win, right? Pyrrhic victories sometimes. But it's also the way that our ego tells us what we want to know. And it conceals from us anything that actually doesn't feel like it's good for it, right? Now, when it comes up in the reverse, we've got a breaking of that. We've got a stabilization of the thought patterns, and that's really, really cool. But it's here with the Six of Pentacles in reverse. Now, given that we've got the Six of Pentacles appearing as a shadow card and therefore being a theme for the reading, right, the need for that balance to occur, and the fact that in your current energy we've got a situation whereby it seems to me that you are perceiving suddenly that things aren't quite as balanced as they were, that there isn't quite as much give and take as you thought there was between perhaps you and another person, or even you and the way that the situations are, the situation is unfolding at this point. Tell me about this Six of Pentacles in reverse. Thank you. We've got Six of Pentacles. I can scarce believe it, but there it is. Six of Pentacles. And we've got the Three of Cups, which showed up in the reverse for you. Now, Three of Cups I often consider to be emotional support networks, right? It's your friendship groups, it can be your family support and stuff as well. But it's asking you to come back and look at this situation again. If you are working with people in some sort of collaborative situation, we have got the Three of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck here. You know, are these people pulling their weight? And you're being asked to look at this now. Are these people really bringing anything to the table? Because you're trying very hard to commit to this situation, and if it's not quite right, if something's off, you only need to be out by a degree at your starting point to end up right on the other side of the map. This is about making sure that everything is right. And you know, Six of Pentacles come out 3 times in the space of not very many cards that I've got down here on the table. Like, what is out of alignment, what isn't balanced, and what can you do to bring it into balance? Can you bring it into balance at all? I mean, this would be a thing. Have you leapt ahead of yourself so hard that you are now so focused on the outcome that the way that you get there isn't necessarily that important? Are there things that you are overlooking in your behaviour, in other people's behaviour, in the way that the circumstances are sitting right now that frankly needs a look at? I think possibly. Cups, thank you. There's the Tower. You remember how I said a stitch in time saves 9? Well, I feel like there's kind of fairly dramatic energy, Tower energy, all over this reading. And it's in your present and it's in your future. But down here in this present bit, it's almost like there are some red flags here that you are not seeing. Like the Tower's presenting and you're not seeing it because it's coming out underneath a Six of Pentacles that is all lopsided. And when I said right at the beginning that the focus needed to be on you and your own personal stability rather than necessarily this situation or other people, how, you know, however it relates to you. And this isn't because I feel like you necessarily need to move forwards alone on whatever thing that you're working on, but that now isn't the time. It's almost like if you erect this tower now, this your Ace of Pentacles is the erection of a tower. Here it is, and it's beautiful, and everybody can come and visit it. It feels like it's almost drawing the lightning to it because you're trying to scurry ahead. Like, what are you not seeing? Or what are you seeing that isn't there? More importantly, Gemini, I would think. I'll get this deck over here. Tell me about this tower, please. Thank you. Yeah, we've got the Chariot. I do feel like you're trying to make progress for the sake of making progress. You've become fixated on the outcome. And I think that there are things that are being missed along the way. Like, take some time, step it back, get an objective viewpoint of everything, and then start analysing. And you're looking for the power balance and where it is not equal. I feel like there's an abusive power going on here somewhere, Gemini, and you just have not quite seen it. Maybe you have seen it and you don't want to see it. So what we've got in September for you is the Tower. Now, the Tower is actually a really positive card. It's one of the scary cards of the tarot, and people get upset when they see it. But it's really the universe bringing a broad brush and just coming through your life and just clearing out all of the crap that is no good for you. Yeah, when the Tower falls, it can quite often feel utterly terrifying, because it can be associated with things like job losses and stuff like that as well. But I think that we can all draw from experience and think back to a time where there was something that seemed really fucking dreadful, and it happened. And maybe it was like utterly dreadful. But then further down the line, we can see the wisdom in it. We can see why things had to go down that way. And we can also see that it took us to something that was much, much better for us. And that's generally the energy of the Tower. But it's here with the Eight of Swords and the King of Cups. And that Eight of Swords is uncomfortable, particularly underneath the Tower as it is here on the table, looking at me. Because there we've got a woman. Oh, fuck me. Can't see it, right? We've got a woman who's all bound up and stuff like that, and the Tower's on top of her. The Tower is literally about to fall, and it's almost like she can probably hear it starting to come, but it's not something that she can see. And at this point, it doesn't feel like it's something that she can legitimately run away from, like it's coming in. And then we've got this King of Cups, and it feels like there's a schism between mind and heart going on for you this month. That's what the Tower is. There's what you hoped in your heart of hearts, and then there's the reality of the situation that you have not seen in some way. Pull out the Eight of Swords, please. Oh, I wish they'd stop flying on the floor, honestly. Nine of Cups. King of Pentacles, yeah. I can tell the King of Cups. It feels like it's Six of Cups. Yeah, I mean, there's a storm coming, Gemini. And I really do think that there is something quite strong here about fixating on outcomes. Right? Underneath this Eight of Swords, we have the Nine of Cups and we have the King of Pentacles, right? The King of Pentacles is what you have committed to, right? The plan that you wish to see executed. And we've got it here with the Nine of Cups, which is a card it's sometimes called the wish card, right? So here's something that you've fixated on. Here's something that you're wishing for really, really hard. But you're wishing for it so hard that you've actually tied yourself up. You've tied your mind up in knots intellectually. And we've got the Six of Cups and we've got the Eight of Wands here underneath the King of Cups. Now, King of Cups is Scorpio. And I mean, this could be a relationship that you're trying to head into, Gemini. That's possible. The King of Cups would be a water sign. Potentially Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. Doesn't need to be a man, could be a woman as well. The tarot doesn't give a shit about your gender. It's about the expression of the energy. Or it could just be somebody who has strong feelings, whether that is you or someone else. But we've got that Six of Cups and we've got the Eight of Wands underneath it. And Gemini, it feels like like all of this energy that's gone into trying to get you to stabilize yourself, to see what you are not seeing, to be aware of where your past experiences potentially have caused you to not notice things that you should have, are all arriving at once. Like, well, it's been asking you to put the work into these things in anticipation of something falling over, because that's what's happening in September. It's like something is falling over. And this can be a period of great learning for you, like as they call it in the poly community, another fucking opportunity for growth, right? This could be that. But there's a big storm here on this card, on this Eight of Wands. This is communication coming in potentially, but it can also talk about a situation that escalates very quickly, which would very much be in keeping with the Tower. But this Six of Cups, a card that speaks of the past, coming up as we're about to head into a Mercury retrograde, I mean, to all intents and purposes, we're essentially there anyway, seems too strong to ignore. I mean, in some ways, Gemini, this feels like a really painful lesson, a very challenging lesson that's coming in for you. We've got the Five of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck, followed by the Judgment card, and then the Strength card is sitting underneath that with the Ace of Swords. Now, here is the truth, right? The swords that have appeared for you so far have been muddying and haven't really enabled you to move forwards, particularly. But here we have the stone cold truth. Here it's appearing for you. And we've got it here with the Strength card. It's a card of Leo, but it also talks about personal development, personal growth, right? How you grow when you discover the truth. But we also have the Judgment card, and we have the Five of Pentacles here. Now, a Judgment card is another card that talks about the past kind of resurrecting up in front of you. But it also talks about the decisions that we make and the consequences for the decisions that we make. And Five of Pentacles suggests that I don't think that the outcome that you have attached to, as hard as you have, is the one that is right for you, nor is it the one that looks like it's about to play out. Now, this does not mean that you're going to rack and ruin, headed off to perdition or anything like that. More, it is that this is a redirection, because that's what the Tower is. It's a redirection, it's a diversion. It's like, no, don't go that way. That's not for you. It's this way instead. And a certain amount of personal stabilization seems to be the thing that will help you navigate it the best. But, no, not but, because Six of Pentacles, Ace of Swords, and the Page of Ace of Swords, Ace of Shields, so the Ace of Pentacles. These are all Pentacles cards. Six, Ace, and the Page. There's the new stuff. It's just going to be wearing a different set of clothes than what you had anticipated, right? We talk a lot about attachment to outcomes and how it's quite damaging. It's very limiting, actually. And maybe that's what the Eight of... almost certainly what the Eight of Swords is about here. It's the way that you limited your thinking by attaching to a particular outcome. You're going to get what you want, but it's going to come to you differently to how you've anticipated, how you've planned, differently to your expectation. Yeah. And what is expectation if not premeditated disappointment? Again, there's a back to the drawing board kind of feel to me about all of this, but that back to the drawing board only really counts, that flexibility and whatnot only really counts until the Tower comes along, and where you've managed to maintain a degree of flexibility, where you have detached yourself from the outcome, you'll have a much easier time through this than if you have become very rigid and very dogmatic about what it is that you want. But again, it doesn't mean that you can't have what you want. It's just going to come to you differently and potentially a little bit further down the line than you hoped for. Oh, sorry, Gemini, I would like to give you a better message, but this is what I've got here. Well, I'm going to go over to Vimeo now, so if this has resonated with you at all and you would like to come and dig into it a little bit deeper, you're welcome to join me over there. The link is down in the description box. Alternatively, you could come and join my Patreon, and then you've got access to all the extended content for no extra cost. If neither of those appeal, that is also absolutely fine. I just want you to understand that you are not being punished. There's nothing vindictive going on here. It's not like the universe is spearing you on a lance and holding you up, which is, like, to be fair, how I felt a lot of times in my life. It's just been like speared and then stood up. It isn't that, because there's much very beautiful energy sitting around, kind of waiting in the wings for you to discover it after the tower is hit. It's a redirection, Gemini. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I really hope that this helped. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.